Hello there guys, Bilbo10000 here, bringing you another Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC discussion video, as today, I'm being dragged kicking and screaming back into the argument that is Erdrich versus Sora versus any other Square Enix rep, because y'all know I can't resist a good back and forth between these two groups. They don't stop! But before we get into today's video, I just want to give a massive shout out to my patrons and my subscribers. You guys are amazing. YouTube told me this morning that my Smash videos were actually making my channel lose subscribers, but if you're watching this video, that's proof of the contrary, and as long as you'll want to keep watching, I'll keep creating. Be sure to follow my social media links down below so you can keep up to date with my channel, as I post tons of updates on my Twitter, and passive-aggressively reply all the time in my public Discord. And of course, it's been a while since I last did this, but I just want to quickly shout out my current Minecraft series, Diversity 3. Diversity 3 is a modern Minecraft map that was developed over 21 months by a group of the most talented map makers of the Minecraft community, including heavyweights like Jigabov, who's famous for the Erenev Mansion games, Cold Fusion, who made maps like Gloria, and Render, who's made Calamity Canyon, Corona Trials, and other Untold Stories CTM maps, and more. Plus, the big guy himself, Q-Magnet. Their map is a technical marvel, and if you want to see just how far Minecraft has come, my series on their map is easily the best way to check. Links will be in the top right corner. Alright, so if everybody remembers, a few weeks ago I made a video where I went through a massive Google document about Erdrich's chances to appear in Smash, and that was a pretty enjoyable video and definitely convinced me that Erdrich is definitely in contention. But Twitter user SakakiNeko1997 had other ideas and has made a counter-argument Google Doc in the same style as the original from the previous video. And today, I'll be going through the document myself to see if the arguments against Erdrich are stronger than the arguments for Erdrich. Below in the description is a link to Sakaki's tweet, which contains a link to the document. While I will be paraphrasing for much of the document for this video, as it's simply too long, and nobody wants to watch me read a Google Doc for 50 minutes, rest assured that I have read the document myself in avid detail, as this video is scripted. So hopefully I can hit on all the main points that are made with the clarity that it deserves. So without further ado, let us begin. The first paragraph of the document is a simple descriptor of who Erdrich is, which, by this point I imagine we all know, so I won't go over too many of the extraneous details, but know he's the main protagonist of Dragon Quest III, but that the name Erdrich actually became a title of sorts for certain characters, including the Luminary from Dragon Quest XI, which arguably brings the Luminary into contention as well based on this information. And the first 3 games of the Dragon Quest series are actually known as the Erdrich trilogy due to their story relation to the character. After the introduction paragraph, we reach Dragon Quest's importance, a segment that discusses the overall importance of the series and why it would be eligible for Smash based on its merits. Firstly, as we learned in the last video on this subject, Dragon Quest popularized and introduced many RPG mechanics that would become staples of the genre, and while I'd argue that Final Fantasy was what really got the JRPG scene soaring to great heights, Dragon Quest did come first, and its combined sales of 75 million make it the second best-selling Square Enix series of all time across its 29 titles. Final Fantasy is at the top with 144 million sales across 54 titles, Tomb Raider is in third with 60 million sales over 30 titles, while Kingdom Hearts is in fourth with 30 million sales across 9 titles. Though it's worth noting that in Tomb Raider's case, I believe this includes the sales of pre-2009 Tomb Raider games, which was when Square Enix took control of the IP after purchasing Eidos. So whether the sales of the older games count towards this list for Square Enix, I'm not sure. As for Kingdom Hearts, while you might think 30 million isn't a lot compared to Dragon Quest's 75 million, Kingdom Hearts has only had 9 titles and a few re-releases here and there, and is already almost halfway to Dragon Quest's full total. Keeping in mind, Dragon Quest has been in the gaming scene for way longer, that's impressive for Kingdom Hearts to catch up so quickly. And of course, the document brings up the infamous launch of Dragon Quest III, where people took days off work or school just to play the game, which I believe led to Dragon Quest games only being sold on weekends. The more you know. And now we get to the fun part. Our next category is the title Erdrick debate. Now, as previously mentioned, the title of Erdrick is a title given to multiple characters across the Dragon Quest mythos, some of which we play as in-game, some of which are alluded to by the lore. But, and here's some spoilers for Dragon Quest XI, it's revealed that another Erdrick was in fact the Luminary from Dragon Quest XI, and on top of this, the iconic sword and shield of the Erdrick title also came from Dragon Quest XI, with the shield being given to the Luminary by Edwin, while the sword was the Luminary's sword from the very beginning. Now, the Google Doc claims in this paragraph that the true originator of the title was the Dragon Quest XI hero, but in an updated paragraph above, the author of the thread states that the games themselves make it very clear that neither of them were the first to receive it, with it being the title of Erdrick. So I'm not sure what the point is here, as this is a contradiction. Was the Dragon Quest XI protagonist the first Erdrick? I'm not sure. But I will say that this opens the door for the Luminary to be in contention just as much as Dragon Quest III's Erdrick. Our next category is the codename Brave data mine and Yusha hero debate. So for those not in the know, on November 20th, data miners discovered file names for Joker and the plant under the names Jack and Paku. But on the launch patch for Ultimate, another codename was found, Brave. Naturally, many are assuming Brave is Erdrick due to the loose translation to Yusha, which can also mean hero or the brave in Japanese. However, this document claims that there are other Dragon Quest protagonists referred to as Yusha. The protagonists from 1, 3, 4, and 11 all fall under this category, and the document even goes on to infer that any Japanese character who is referred to as a hero could fall under this category due to the translation, which opens up a whole new can of worms. The document then goes on to tackle the stats for Brave that were also data mined from the game, which I've covered before on the channel. Feel free to look over the stats at your leisure, they're all charted in the document, but once the stats are out of the way, they mention that Brave's height stat is close to Ness and Lucas, but with a shield stat close to Snake, which implies they could be using Kid or Adult Erdrick as the stats would fit both characters. However, here's the real tea. The height stat does not matter, as the final version of Joker's stats got changed through production, which makes sense given the character was being worked on through the past few months and changes to the character's stats would be implemented across various patches. And this could be the same for Erdrick. While Ness and Lucas's height stat might seem small, many of the human characters in Smash are actually a similar size to the two Mother Reps due to their enlarged designs. And as for Kid Erdrick, the design has never seen a release outside of Japan, so it has no significance to the wider audience, and could be seen as excluding entire regions with the character. But now, we're getting into the real meat of this document, and the question we all want answered. Is Erdrick really important and iconic enough? This category starts off by showcasing various Erdrick references throughout Square Enix titles, from the Alefgard Fortune Street board to the gravestone on the NES version of Final Fantasy I, which states, "Here lies Erdrick." The character is also of course referenced via items within the Dragon Quest series as well. That being said, the thread then goes on to make the point that, is Erdrick himself, the character, memorable in regards to his franchise, in the same way as characters like Cloud, who actively shaped their franchise and the way they evolved going forwards? While the title of Erdrick could certainly fit this bill, the Dragon Quest III character who everyone's referring to is just a holder of that title. And that's a little bit less memorable at the end of the day. It's also worth noting that in Japan, the cry for Dragon Quest representation actually falls to the slime enemy type, as opposed to our Erdrick, which implies his importance is somewhat overblown. The thread then lists the points in the franchise that could be considered his relevancy and legacy. The main character of Dragon Quest I and II is his descendant, and he is relevant to the plot. He's the playable character of Dragon Quest III. In Dragon Quest I and IX, he has an armor set in-game. In Dragon Quest XI, he's teased at the end of the game, and as stated earlier, the Luminary receives the title of Erdrick. In Dragon Quest VIII for the 3DS, Erdrick's sword is shown and used for equipment, and he's the playable character of Dragon Quest Monsters Battle Road Victory. So is Erdrick really as relevant to the series as people believe he is? I feel this comes down to a personal interpretation, but it's clear that aside from 9 and 11, Erdrick's relevancy has taken a massive dive since his starring role in Dragon Quest III. And on a personal note, I had never heard of the Erdrick character myself until Smash Speculation, and I've been a part of gaming circles for years now. Aside from 1 or 2 run-ins through GameXplain prediction videos with the character, I've honestly never heard of him, though I wonder if that's really surprising, given that Dragon Quest as a series has traditionally not been the best outside of Japan until very recently. Anyway, our next category is about other Dragon Quest candidates, and we're starting off with the mascot, Slime. As mentioned before, Slime is the most demanded of Dragon Quest characters for Smash on fan polls, and is basically the Pikachu of the Dragon Quest franchise. The character has appeared in the mainline games as an enemy, has had spin-off games where it has appeared, and been playable, and overall Square Enix is quite biased towards the little guy. His biggest hurdle is a potential moveset though, as he has no arms, legs, and is literally just a droplet with a face and a mouth. Some may argue though that Piranha Plant proves that anything can have a moveset, but out of all the generic mooks from the Mario series, you couldn't make a Goomba playable with a moveset in the same way as Piranha Plant, which has had multiple incarnations and variations. Slime feels more like a Goomba than a Piranha Plant in my book. The thread then goes on to mention the Luminary from Dragon Quest XI, who could easily be the best pick for a Dragon Quest representative if they're looking for a marketable character. Dragon Quest XI is the best-selling game in the series in the West, and that brand recognition would certainly help to really sell not only the Smash DLC, but copies of the Dragon Quest XI S Definitive Edition, which is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And as mentioned earlier, he also now holds the title of Erdrick, which increases his viability. But this thread actually throws in a curveball at us. The Dragon Quest V protagonist, Madison. According to this thread, which has backed up their evidence with sources, Dragon Quest V has almost caught up to Dragon Quest III in terms of sales and reception, with the Dragon Quest V remake on the PlayStation 2 selling over 1.64 million copies, while the DS remake sold over 1.176082 copies. With all 3 versions of the game, the worldwide sales figure is 5.93 million. Dragon Quest V also has a live-action movie coming on August 2nd in Japan, which looks fantastic by the way, though there's no news as to whether it will release worldwide as of yet. Adding Madison to Smash would be an interesting way to support the film, and a childhood friend of Madison's called Bianca was playable in Fortune Street, which shows that Dragon Quest V is somewhat relevant. But what about a character that isn't from Dragon Quest? You all know where this is going. Let's move on to our next category. When it comes to Sora, Sora unlocks the door. So first up, this thread addresses the Disney argument that people seem to be really fond of, which goes along the lines of, Sora's owned by Disney, so Nintendo would have to negotiate with Disney. And many times over the past year, I have brought up the fact that Disney is completely fine with allowing Kingdom Hearts characters to cross over with other franchises. Look at Thanos and the Avengers in Fortnite, or Wreck-It Ralph in Sony All-Stars Racing, Sonic All-Stars Racing, or Kingdom Hearts in general, which literally relies on Disney characters for a majority of its worlds. Kingdom Hearts characters have made guest appearances in many different games outside of Disney's scope, including Sora appearing in World of Final Fantasy, Sora being playable in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Sora and Riku being playable in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, Roxas and Axel being playable in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, Squall Leonhardt and Cloud Strife having alternative Kingdom Hearts costumes. Disney is completely fine with Kingdom Hearts characters appearing outside of Kingdom Hearts. The negotiations have always been more strewn towards whether Tetsuya Nomura wants it. And it's worth noting that Nomura and Sakurai have been close many times since the Cloud DLC reveal back in 2015, and both have made statements in interviews that are going to be looked at in our next category, Sakurai and his point of view of Kingdom Hearts and Sora. This section features various interviews with Sakurai and Nomura, mainly taken from Source Gaming's Creator Interview, Part 2, which is linked on the document. These are interviews which I have covered in the past, but the main points are that Sakurai wants to keep surprising and delighting his audience, and both seemed willing to want to work together in the future. In Sakurai's Nintendo Dream interview, he also mentions how negotiations tend to run smoothly due to the merits of having your character in Smash, and he also stated in Famitsu for Kingdom Hearts' 15th anniversary, much praise for the titles and for Nomura's work. Now, the creator of this thread infers from this that Sakurai thought Sora was impossible back in the day, but I don't really get that from the interviews. Sure, maybe back in Brawl, when Snake was the biggest third party, but nowadays it feels like nothing's impossible when it comes to the merits of Smash Brothers. From those interviews, I gleaned that Sakurai could easily get Sora if he wanted to. Disney is fine with Sora appearing in other titles, Nomura has high praise for Smash and Sakurai, and vice versa, while Kingdom Hearts is a franchise with enough original ideas and characters that you could easily omit the Disney content if you really needed to while still having enough to create viable DLC. We got Persona 5 in Smash simply because Sakurai was a big fan of the series, so that could also be applied to Kingdom Hearts. Though that point is definitely weaker ever since Sakurai's recent tweet the other day regarding how people keep inferring from the games he plays who will be in Smash and how he wishes people didn't take everything he tweets as hints. But perhaps most interesting is how Yusha has another translation. It can also mean Man of Valor, and Sora's brave form is called Valor form in English. He also is a hero in his own right, so the Yusha codename could refer to Sora in very much the same way that it refers to Erdrick. The creator of the thread then adds on that all the evidence put forth for Sora hasn't even taken into account any form of leaks, which makes the argument all the more stronger as it's well researched and not founded on a rumor, which is somewhat contrary to a lot of Erdrick's popularity. And trust me, as someone who primarily focused on leaks last year, Erdrick rose to prominence through leaks before the Brave codename got revealed to the public. But now comes the fun part, as we get to the category, Leaks and Rumors. So the next section is all about the leakers and rumors, and the document states that Erdrick gained notoriety around the Smash community during November-December time, based on leakers giving us the go-ahead on Dragon Quest being in Smash. Such leaks were brought up by Vergaben, Zenother, Tanser, Hitagi, Leaky Pandy, and of course, those damned 5chan leaks. The document claims, though, that none of these leakers have credibility anymore, so let's discuss. It's well known in the community that Square Enix is perhaps the company who's the best at avoiding leaks, and we've had rumors for months leading up to Ultimate's launch that various different names were purposefully being thrown around to catch out leakers. Vergaben himself confirmed a list of 7 different characters: Erdrick, the Luminary, Sephiroth, Geno, Chrono, Sora, and Slime. And here is his old post on the subject so we can get a refresher. Okay, I'm gonna come out right and say it, that Sephiroth is one of the main names that I hear the Square Enix character may be at a point, but wound up more recently looking more in favor of a Dragon Quest character, since I have heard from the majority of sources and people coming to me that are aware of a Dragon Quest character. Out of the 7 names, the 3 I've heard that the character most likely is Sephiroth, a Dragon Quest character, Erdrick, Luminary, and Slime. Slime was only ever mentioned once, but Erdrick and Luminary is mentioned the most to the point where it seems like they might share a character slot or something like that if this is an actual outcome, which they could easily do. And Chrono. I heard the Square Enix character is not Sora. The only person I heard Geno from stated that they were told to not take that one seriously, which is similar to what the message or screenshot pretty much said too. There's technically an 8th Square Enix character I heard about, which was Arthur from Million Arthur, which Square Enix intentionally leaked to a department they view as lower, to the point where they purposefully spread to them, mostly out of disrespect and to see if anyone would be dumb enough to share it online and any leaker take it seriously, which made me laugh. However, the thread creator makes an excellent point that Vergaben hasn't got much right since he finished predicting the base roster. He claimed Square Enix would have the first DLC character, but that turned out to be Atlus's Joker, and obviously he was deceived via data miners when it came to Minecraft DLC, as Rathalos' datamine file is End Dragon, which also shares its name with the Ender Dragon from Minecraft. Now, Sakagi does bring up the Minecraft Aubrey Norris tweets, which I'd rather not go into already, as I have in a past video, but the TLDR is that Aubrey Norris is the senior manager, head of community, and player voice for Minecraft, and she basically said Steve's an avatar and wouldn't work in Smash. She was very much against the idea and has been watching the speculation for a while now. Aubrey, if you're watching this tweet, hey! Now, if we assume she is correct and Steve isn't in Smash based on her information, then it actually kills other leakers, because the main leak that has Erdrick as a character was also banking on Steve being a character as well. Firstly, Hitagi. They claimed there would be no Atlas reps, only for Joker to literally be the first character announced as DLC. While Hitagi may be correct outside of Smash, so far they've not gotten anything right for Ultimate. That's pretty damning so far. Same goes with Zanother and Leaky Pandy, who have both been known to be incorrect regarding Smash Ultimate. God, I still remember that controversial video with Leaky Pandy saying Skull Kid would be a boss, and I got ripped a new one by you guys for believing it. I'm glad you taught me well. They were both backing Dragon Quest too. And lastly, Tanzit and the 5chan leaks. So the 5chan leaks got busted a while back, as one claimed Jack Frost was a part of Joker's kit. That wasn't correct. Then there's the one that claims Steve, and if you believe Aubrey Norris's tweets, then that one is killed as well. And one of them even uses Erdrick's localized name, despite the fact the thread was from Japan, and thus should use Erdrick's name Loto Oroto, which is the title of Erdrick in Japan. The 5chan leak situation was a mess, and the only thing they had going for them was that they predicted a Grand Blue fighting game, which could have easily been actual insider knowledge that they just combined with some fake information to confuse people. It wouldn't be the first time a leak has only told the partial truth, and hell, all 3 of the leaks were posted by different people as well, so let's just make it even more confusing. Now, Tanzit, for those not in the know, is the guy who leaked Cloud before he was revealed as DLC for Smash 4. He was the only person to do this, so naturally people are looking at him again, as he may have contacts in Square Enix to figure this sort of stuff out. According to Tanzit, he believes Erdrick is in because he brought up the name with his source but didn't get corrected on it. That's a bit of a leak of logic right there. On a personal note, while that logic is ridiculous though, I would say out of everyone, Tanzit's probably the leaker out there with the most validity out of the ones discussed here. I won't say he's right, but I will say out of everyone, he's the only person who hasn't been officially discredited, just that his confirmation of Erdrick could be biased due to how he saw the situation. The thread brings up that he got Cloud's release date wrong by a day, but Tanzit does explain that he used the Japanese time release date, not the Western release date, which could easily justify how he was wrong by a single day. And given he was within a day of Cloud's release date and nobody else was speculating that date at the time, I think it's safe to assume that wasn't a guess. And now it's time to get into the final category, arguments. Firstly, Slime is just a basic enemy. He wouldn't represent Dragon Quest. The thread creator replies with the Piranha Plant argument I mentioned earlier in the video, but once again, I bring up the comparison that even with Piranha Plant, it's not like a Goomba would ever be playable and have a moveset. Piranha Plant is versatile due to the many different variations that have appeared across the franchise's history, and he has arms because of his leaves so he can actually hold items. Slime feels more like a Goomba in that it's the most generic of enemies and doesn't have any way to actually, hold items. I'd also argue that Slime wouldn't really match the stats that Brave is known to have, and Braid's codename doesn't really have any relation to Slime, as far as I know, Slime hasn't earned the title of Erdrick in canon. I'm personally going to skip the next argument about Slime being a mascot because, look, I've covered that multiple times in multiple videos and we're just going to go around in circles with Slime, so let's move on. Sora can't represent what the series is known for without including more things relating to Disney properties. I also brought this up earlier as well. Kingdom Hearts has a plethora of unique locales and characters who can be represented without including Disney in the mix. Destiny Islands, Hollow Bastion, Traverse Town, Radiant Garden, the Keyblade Graveyard, the World of Darkness, Twilight Town, the list goes on and on. And as for characters, we've got Sora, Riku, Kairi, Roxas, Axel, Xaon, Ventus, Aqua, Terra, Xehanort, Xemnas, Ansem. The list goes on as well. The only Disney characters they'd probably need are Donald, Goofy, and Mickey, if we're going by which ones are important to the story, as you simply can't have Sora in Smash without Donald and Goofy somewhere behind. They are his eternal party members after all. Sora is a Disney-owned character with strong ties to non-video game material, so he can't be in Smash. But Sora's from a video game. Do people really argue that? No, really, is that something people really try to use as an argument? There's a lot of reasons why Erdrick would be playable, and you're ignoring them. The thread creator goes on to explain that there's around 3 different arguments they keep seeing. Dragon Quest III is big in Japan, Sakurai loves Dragon Quest III, and it's been leaked. Of course, there's promotional reasons, such as to promote the series to the West, or the impact of Dragon Quest that has had on the genre itself, but I have to agree, the Dragon Quest argument does boil down to the same few points. It's why I personally believe neither side is going to win this debate until the official Square rep is revealed at E3, because we don't have all the information we need to settle the debate yet. I'm going to skip the advertisement argument, as regardless of whether it's nothing new or not for Nintendo, it could still be a key factor if Erdrick is in fact playable, and will just lead to more arguments going around in circles. There's also an argument that rehashes the "Is Erdrick really important?" section, so don't need to do that one. The creator also brings up that Erdrick being brave would make no sense, as the Jack codename for Joker was misleading data miners into thinking Jack Frost, not Joker himself. So why would Brave suddenly be completely straight up in revealing Erdrick? Good point. And added post-launch, there's an argument that counters people who say that Loto Roto is the name of the character, which is incorrect. It's just the title of Erdrick, just Loto and Roto is the Japanese version of Erdrick, which is the localized version of that title, with Yusha, I believe, being the class. And with that ends the anti-Erdrick thread. Sakaki really pulled out all the stops with this one, and even explained that they're not trying to say no Dragon Quest representation is coming, but instead that there are other candidates in franchise that would make just as much, if not more sense, than Erdrick, which I can respect. While I personally don't see the argument for Slime, and I feel like Madison maybe just isn't popular enough yet, I do believe the Luminary is a likely candidate in a similar vein to Joker, and of course the focus on Sora as a potential other series rep is as strong as it's ever been. But that's it from me. What do you guys think of this behemoth of a text document? Do these arguments make sense, or is Erdrick still definitely a possible character? Leave your thoughts on the comments down below. And be sure to check out the thread yourself if you haven't already, it's an interesting read. Thanks so much everyone for watching, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to leave a comment, leave a like, or consider subscribing. I have 2 public Discords, one of which is my general Discord, the other is a Minecraft-focused Discord I opened recently, and you can check them out down below. Aside from that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!